Hold on to your butts for the climactic finale to the Civil Core War when the conclusion brings about a new status quo for the Green Lanterns, the Guardians, and the galaxy. But which enemies are already forming to take advantage of the chaos? Let's find out in Green Lantern number 18 from DC Comics. See you in 3. Welcome back to Comical Opinions. This is our review of Green Lantern number 18. I have to say, good on writer Jeremy Adams for taking big swings that pay off in the finale of the Civil Core War. Green Lantern number 18 brings the spectrum-shaking conflict to a close with an all-out fight against Darkstar and Varon in orbit above Oa for the fate of the planet, the galaxy, and the emotional spectrum. If nothing else, change is the key to this arc's success, even if the ending feels, let's be honest, slightly rushed. And thanks a lot, Absolute Power. That's your fault, you jerk. But before we dig in, how about a recap? When last we left Hal Jordan and the new Green Lantern Corps in Green Lantern number 17, the Civil Core War reached a penultimate pitch when all forces converged on Oa. The Unseeing, Varon, and the Green Lanterns, now equipped with Earth Lantern rings, because that's where the battery is now, began a three-way battle for the Source Ring. Red Lantern Mogo arrived and began destroying the orbiting Durlan ships. But before Mogo could smash into Oa, Red Lantern Sinestro arrived and smashed into Mogo, absorbing its Red Lantern power. The issue ended with Varon entering the Source Lantern and Kyle Rayner transforming into the White Lantern to go after him. And that brings us to the current issue. In Green Lantern number 18, the issue begins with Darkstar ordering his possessed United Planet Lanterns to attack Oa. Hal Jordan and his handful of Lanterns do what they can, but the numbers are just too overwhelming. Hal orders his allies to go after Darkstar directly to break the spell, but it isn't enough. In response, Darkstar rips open a dimensional hole in space to start bringing forth the power and the massive tentacles of the great old gods to aid him in his destruction of Oa. Meanwhile, Kyle Rayner attacks Varon inside the Source Lantern to stop the incorporeal nephew of Darkstar from absorbing the Lantern's energy. At first, Kyle gets his licks in, primarily through the use of a giant white light sword, but the lantern explodes once Varon has absorbed enough power, and he tosses Kyle aside like a rag doll. In short, there was a big massive battle, even though you don't really get to see most of it. And the net result is Varon wins. Elsewhere on the surface of the planet below, Kilowog continues strangling Jessica Cruz with his yellow lantern constructs that look like giant pythons or snakes. Jessica hopes she can project an aura of will strong enough to break through Kilowog's possession and revert him back to a Green Lantern. After some pushing and pulling and some tugging and tossing, she actually succeeds, and now Kilowog is back to his old self and a Green Lantern once more. Free of the Source Lantern and brimming with power, Varon flies to orbit and attacks his uncle for the right to rule the galaxy. The Green Lanterns use the attack to their advantage, but the uncle and nephew agree to team up when the Green Lanterns become a nuisance. Hal notices Darkstar drawing power from the interdimensional portal he opened to draw power from the old gods, so he hatches a plan to shove Darkstar and Varon through the portal and seal it for good. The issue concludes with the return of the Guardians, but not completely unchanged. The Source Lantern's destruction creating spectral chaos throughout the galaxy for a job only a Green Lantern Corps can handle, Carol Ferris confronting a predator maybe for the last time, and the Sorrow Lantern called by a familiar-looking mentor, Starbreaker. And that's the issue, so let's talk about positives and negatives, starting with what's great about Green Lantern number 18. Jeremy Adams gives readers what almost every DC title, and Marvel title for that matter, if we're being honest, is sorely missing: a climactic conclusion and a new status quo. You get big action, big stakes, twists, turns, and a heroic finish with a tease of what's to come. It's not a perfect ending, but it's better than most. And here's the big thing about it. Every story must have some kind of conclusion that incorporates a change. We see too many stories these days from the big two where the arc ends, or the two-parter ends, or the one-shot ends, and everything is right back exactly where it was before the story started. If a story doesn't end with something changing, it's not worth the paper it's printed on. So hats off to Jeremy Adams for pushing for change. Let's switch to the negatives and what's not great about Green Lantern number 18. Depending on your tolerance for chaos and frenzy, yes, the ending feels a tad rushed. Although Adams made the most of the Absolute Power hiatus better than any other DC writer by moving the plot forward while tying into the event, you can see where those extra 2 or 3 issues would have helped to give more meat to, say, Carol's confrontation with Predator, or more space for a complete fight between Kyle and Baron. Both developments, and a few others, while significant in how they turned out, were glossed over and cut short much too quickly. So you can see where that tying into the event, when it didn't really fit what was going on in the title, really put a pinch on some of the sub-threads that are additive to the final result. Let's switch gears and talk about the art for a second. Zermanico keeps up with the breakneck speed by giving readers as many action-packed panels with eye-popping treats as possible. Every panel exudes drama, energy, and movement to hold your attention. It's a big battle, it's a big finish, so it looks just exactly as it should. Plus, you got to give it to Romulo Fajardo Jr. He jumps into overdrive on the coloring to incorporate waves of multicolored spectrum energy in almost every panel. You're just getting colors all over the place, and it still looks great. Kudos to the art team on this final issue in the arc. Final thoughts, what do we think about Green Lantern number 18? It's a big, loud, relatively satisfying conclusion to the Civil War war that establishes a new Green Lantern Corps, new Guardians, sort of, maybe, and a new mission to protect the galaxy. Jeremy Adams made the most of the absolute power interruption to keep the story flowing, even if the interruption resulted in a few corners getting cut, and the art team pulled out all the stops for a climactic battle and finish. Therefore, Green Lantern number 18 earns an 8.8 out of 10. The conclusion of this arc is as good as we've seen from any ongoing title or event from DC in a few years, so props to Jeremy Adams. But what do you think? Is Green Lantern one of your top DC polls right now? Leave a thumbs up if you found this review helpful, and drop a comment below with which DC comic is your must-have if it isn't Green Lantern. Who do you think is better? Which title is better? I want to know your opinion about that. Also, remember to click on the link in the description to read the written review, check out the variant covers and preview pages, and buy this comic to help support the channel. Your support, of course, is greatly appreciated. So, thank you very much for joining, and stay tuned through the outro for more reviews just like this one.